Welcome back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at some unsettled weather coming up. I think we are heading into a much more unsettled phase of weather really over the next week to 10 days. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be cold though. I think we could well get another hot spell actually later next week, so we'll have a look at that. But if it does, I don't think it'll last anything like as long as the heat has lasted in July. I think it'll very quickly break down into thundery conditions. There could be a lot of thundery weather actually coming up over the next week, so we'll go through all the detail in a moment and have a look at what's going on. Before I get on with it all though, I just want to talk about the advertising. Now you know this, but I have to keep going through it because I have to assume that some people are coming onto the website and watching this for the very first time, so that's the reason I have to keep repeating it. And it does allow me to have the website and to sit here and talk to you about the weather, so this is why I have to keep mentioning the advertising. There's green keyword ads on our pages at galsweathervids.com. If you roll your cursor over those green keywords, they'll display ads, but if you click through the words you go to the advertised website, and by doing that you support galsweathervids.com, and I say that allows me then to talk about weather to you through the website, so thanks very much for doing that. So let's start off with Saturday first of all. We've got a bit of an interesting situation coming up for Saturday. We've got a thundery area of low pressure developing to the south of the country at midday on Saturday the 27th, and it's not really showing up very much here on the chart for midday Saturday, but what's important is the changes in the colours, because they're indicating that there's a lot of instability going on within the upper atmosphere. So if we run through, we'll see that the low pressure does develop again. This is through to 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 hours on again, not really a huge amount to see, but then look what happens as we get through to midnight on Sunday. An area of low pressure has formed across England and Wales, so that's quite interesting how that happens. You would look at those charts for midday and 6 o'clock in the evening and not think there's much going on, but the colours are the giveaway, and as we go through yes to midnight, then the low pressure has actually formed over the top of the country within that unstable air. And that low pressure, as we get through to 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, is pushing northwards. Now let's have a look at the precipitation forecast, the rainfall forecast for Saturday, and we can see that at midday on Saturday there's not much going on. There's a few showers up in the northwest, rest of the country mainly dry, but we've got some very heavy rain there across southern parts of the country, just coming onto the south coast actually and into the channel, so actually much of southern England will be dry on Saturday morning. As we move through to 6 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, so we've gone through in a 6-hourly steps, we see we're bringing heavy rain then across parts of South Wales, southwest into the channel. Really torrential rain is down across the channel. As we move through to midnight, remember that's when the area of low pressure is developing, then things are really exploding into life across the country. Very torrential rain there running up through the Midlands, Wales in towards northern England. More torrential rain down towards southeastern parts of England. This is actually showing it a little bit drier through East Anglia and the southeast, not quite so heavy, but it's too far away really to take that too seriously. We're going to have to wait till much closer to the time to pin down the detail. The idea though is definitely there, but there is very heavy rain, torrential rain going on overnight Saturday into Sunday, and then that heavy rain by 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday is pushing up northwards to Scotland and northern England. The Cape charts, the convective potential for Saturday, shows that we've got very vibrant colours here across much of France into the Low Countries through the course of Saturday, and that's where the area of low pressure is developing from. So as we move through to 6 o'clock in the evening and then into midnight, where we see we do have some convective potential there. The main area of convective potential is to the east of the country, so it could actually be that Saturday night, Sunday morning is more of a torrential sort of rain event and there's not too much convection, but the colours are there. There is green colours mixed in with this, so I think we do run the risk, at least the risk, of getting some lightning and thunder overnight Saturday into Sunday. If not, it'll just be a torrential rain event, but that's again a detail that we won't know until much nearer the time, whether there's embedded thunderstorms within that rain or whether it's just a general area of rain. But certainly a very wet spell. Looks like it's on the way for somewhere. Somewhere's going to get really wet, I think, Saturday into Sunday. We're going to have to wait a bit closer to time as it comes into the high resolution models from the UK Metos, the NAE and the Herland models. We're going to have to wait till it comes within that time frame really to pin down where that torrential rain is going to be. Now, beyond that, we go into the start of next week, and we've got low pressure on the doorstep, bringing in a cooler, fresher westerly wind by that point. As we run through next week, what we're going to find is low pressure continues to come in off the Atlantic, but high pressure down across France and Spain, reaching in from the Azores, is keeping very hot temperatures just over the other side of the channel, and it doesn't take much at all to start to bring that warmth back in across the country. So as we move through to the middle of next week, Wednesday the 31st of July, we're taking that low pressure up to the north and the west of the country, with the high pressure over France beginning to build and everything beginning to shift back round towards the south again in terms of where the air is coming from. So get through to Thursday the 1st of August, and again winds have gone southerly, or the air has gone southerly. The low pressure is stalling up to the northwest, the high pressure is over Germany, yet we're pulling up southerly winds again from the continent. That will bring heat very quickly northwards, because it's really hot over France still throughout next week, so it won't take long for heat to be pushed northwards, but it doesn't last long. That's the key thing about this. It's not going to be an extended spell of fine weather like we've had in July, because very quickly that high pressure just slips eastwards and low pressure starts to form around the British Isles again, pushing through. So maybe a day or two of hot temperatures somewhere around Wednesday, Thursday next week, and then we push the low pressure through back off the Atlantic, probably bringing more thunderstorms or heavy rain, and then very quickly cooling it back down once again. And that's how we end the 10-day period, with high pressure out to the west of the country, bringing down that westerly wind. The upper air temperatures show that from the middle of next week, we're bringing the 10 Celsius isotherm back across the country, so it will be very warm. And as we move through into Thursday, notice that's when everything shifts around to the south, and the hot air, the red colours in the upper atmosphere, beginning to push northwards once again. So by the time we get through to Friday the 2nd, yeah, we've got the 15 Celsius isotherm back across country. Really hot temperatures possible for France and Germany, by the way. Temperatures above 20 Celsius at 850 HPA. That's very, very hot air. And I think parts of Germany and northern eastern, or eastern France, I should say, northeastern France, could be seeing temperatures getting very close to the 100 Fahrenheit mark later next week. So really hot temperatures, very, very close to the British Isles. But that, if it happens, will just fuel this area of low pressure that then moves into that heat, and it could produce some really thundery weather and some torrential rain, actually, as that low pressure moves into that hot air. The hot air acts as the energy for the low pressure. Yeah, it could really spark things up later next week. And then we aimed at the 10-day period on Sunday the 2nd, bringing down this much cooler, fresher northwesterly flow and pushing the heat off into the east. That was the GFS model. The ECMWF is very similar for next week. We've got the low pressure across the country going to Monday the 29th. I think it will be unsettled start next week, and relatively cool as well. Moving through to the middle of next week, we're going to find that area of low pressure moving in across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Notice the high pressure again building up across France into Germany. Must begin to pull the hot air back in from the south as we go through to Thursday the 1st of August, and then inevitably we get the thundery weather going again. That area of low pressure there across northern France coming into the southeast of England is suggesting more in way of thunderstorms, and there's the low pressure then. Doesn't look too much, but that could be producing a lot of very heavy rain in the east of the country actually on Saturday the 3rd of August. And then as we move through into Sunday the 4th of August, the low pressure is developing off the Atlantic, bringing much cooler, fresher air back in once again. Upper air temperatures for next week shows that we're going to be relatively cool for the start of next week. Really hot temperatures across central and eastern parts of Europe. Could be a very, very hot Hungarian Grand Prix, by the way. As we move through towards Tuesday and then on into Wednesday, we're starting to bring the warm air back in from the south again through the middle of next week. The heat begins to build again across France as we go through into Thursday. Pushes northwards on Friday. We bring the 15 Celsius isotherm back into southeastern parts of England. 15 Celsius at 850 HPA is taking temperatures back up to the 30-degree mark. Notice how hot the ECMWF is across France and the Low Countries, by the way. Really intense heat there at the end of next week. And I say that heat is just acting as an energy supply for low pressure rain to develop around British Isles, bringing risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms. And we end the period with cooler, fresher air coming back in off the Atlantic Ocean. Having a look at the GFS temperature ensembles and precipitation ensembles finally for Manchester, we see that we're going to be above average for some considerable time to come. We're a little bit above average at the moment. We're going to stay above average for the next few days. There's the big precipitation spike associated with the rainfall event that looks like it's going to take place on Saturday night. Big rainfall spikes there. And then this hump in the upper air temperatures moving through anything around the 30th of August to say the 2nd of August. That's associated with that period I was talking about from the middle of next week through to next weekend, when we could tap into some hot temperatures or hot air from France and generate more low pressure. But the key thing about this is that we're keeping temperatures relatively warm, but we're keeping it also very wet, certainly for Manchester. Lots of rainfall spikes there going through the whole of the ensemble up to say the 9th, 10th of August, which is as far as the ensemble goes. A lot of precipitation spikes keep going. So the idea really about this coming period, the next week to 10 days, I think, is that we're going to keep it really quite warm. The temperatures aren't going to be cold, and in fact could get quite hot, particularly from the southeast again later next week. But if it does, it'll very quickly break down. It's not going to be an extended hot period. But generally temperatures staying above average, but also staying very unsettled with potential, certainly in the north and the west, but also at times in the east, particularly if we get thunder, certainly with potential for a lot of unsettled weather. So warm and wet really sums it up, I think, how we're going to start, or how we're going to end July and start August. I'll do a bit more of an August look ahead tomorrow. We'll have the update from the JMA model tomorrow. We'll have a look at that. Probably have a look at Beijing Climate Centre and the Korea model. So I'll have a bit more of an August look ahead tomorrow. But some very interesting weather coming up. We've got to ping down that thundery rain on Saturday night. So I'll be updating on that as it comes into the high resolution models. That's it for now. Hope you found the video interesting. Bye for now.